Hi guys, this is Mattiace, and the man that you see here on the picture and on the thumbnail, that is the Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. And I had to just address this again after doing a little bit more of a deep dive into what he's been saying and what's been happening, because there was a bit to absorb actually. And what's very interesting about this is that things have changed enormously on the political landscape, even though the situation in Sweden hasn't really seen a dramatic shift. We have for decades seen a massive increase of violence in Sweden, and that has been basically non-stop. This, I don't know, maybe for 20 years or something. And what I believe has happened partly is that we see a scenario um, that maybe you could describe as like the straw that broke the camel's back. All of a sudden, it just reached a certain point. We just went slightly over a certain, slightly crossed a certain line or went slightly overboard, and all of a sudden, this is now, um, yeah, it's like the dam just broke, or however you want to express it. Now, what I also was thinking about is that perhaps it has something to do with the media landscape also throughout the world. Right now, there doesn't seem to be something new, spectacular happening on the world scene, or in Sweden for that matter, that that can function as a smoke and mirrors argument. We've had plenty of that over the last couple of years. We had Russia's invasion in Ukraine, we had the pandemic, we have inflation, and there's been a lot of things that can create black headlines and that can create scary news articles that can make people focus on, or can make enough people focus on things that um, that can take your attention away from what is really dangerous in your day-to-day life as a normal Swedish citizen. Now, what's also interesting about what Ulf Kristersson is saying here is that he is over and over again repeating the fact that this is due to immigration. And he is using a variety of different examples and different articulation or phrases to express this when he's talking about, for example, if one thing that really caught me was um, if if you have foreign nationals in Sweden that are just moving in these circles, if they're just associating with these gangs, they will be deported from Sweden, even if they haven't committed a crime. Now, this is unheard of. Like, Swedish authorities will now deport people even if they have not committed a crime, just for association with these gangs. Yes, we are still talking about Sweden. I'm not joking here. This is not something from Hungary or something. This is not Viktor Orban you're watching. It's Ulf Kristersson. You'll recognize him with the tongue there, right? There's a reason why I paused right there. Now, what is also being brought up is and I think this might be the very specific. If you can find something specific that has happened that made politicians react this way, is that there has been more and more specific murders related to children. We have children being shot. We have like minors. I think there was a 13 or 14-year-old kid who's been shot in the head, like just executed, like it's a Hollywood movie or something. And what we see in Sweden, like, Ulf Kristersson talks about how Swedish legislation isn't adapted to children soldiers. He actually uses that word, children soldiers. We have not only these gangs recruiting children, which is now going to be a new law in Sweden to make it illegal to recruit children to a gang. That's a new law. We've never even thought of having that kind of law. But not only are the gangs recruiting children, there are many reports from social workers and I don't even know who, that of course cited from Ulf Kristersson himself, that that children themselves are deliberately seeking these gangs. They are trying to join these gangs, and they are willing to prove themselves by committing hideous crimes in order to be accepted into these gangs. So it's a both way. It's children like and children under 15. Like the legal age in Sweden is 18. When you're 18 and above, you're an adult. But between 18 and 15, um, straffmyndig, eligible for legal prosecution or something. Like if you're under the age of 15 in Sweden, you cannot be sentenced for any reason. You're a kid, and you are the responsibility of parents and social workers. But they have to change that law, and that he's talking about children prisons, because and the reason for that is because these children are so dangerous, and they want to separate children from adults in prisons. So we're going to have to put children in prison. This has been talked about in the past, and this has been like, oh my, the Sweden. It was a Sweden Democrats suggestion to lower the age for imprisonment, and this was very, very frowned upon just like a year or two ago, and all of a sudden this has totally changed. Now, what's also remarkable about this is the lack of racist accusations and personal attacks on Ulf Kristersson and some of the other politicians that has been pushing this, because even the Social Democrats now, which is the traditionally biggest political party in Sweden, they still were the biggest political party, even though they lost the latest election to Ulf Kristersson and his coalition. Ulf Kristersson belonged to the right side, the conservatives, while the Social Democrats obviously to the left. Now the Social Democrats, they are like the big woke, politically correct, political party, somewhat like the Democrats, but like the left side of the Democrats of the U.S. Like if you think AOC, Elizabeth Warren, Ilhan Omar, and those kind of that's the Social Democrats in Sweden, and even they, despite the fact that they have traditionally been the political party that has had office the longest time. If you go back over a 25-year period or whatever, the Social Democrats has been in power the majority of the time. And I don't even hear from them these classic you're a racist, fascist, Nazi kind of arguments. Not even they say it. They even agree on this. You have some skepticism from the kind of fringe parties, like there is, believe it or not, an even more so left-wing party than the Social Democrats in Sweden. They used to actually be a communist party. Now they're called the Left, V for Swedish Vänster, but they used to be called VPK. And the K is for communist. That's how we spell communism in Sweden, with a K, not with a C. So this traditionally communist party and the Green Party, which is another kind of fringe party, a bunch of weird people that they are skeptical to this, but they are quite silent about it. You don't see all these traditional outbursts of personal attacks again. They're like, yeah, we're a bit skeptical. But basically all other parties agrees with this. It's completely unheard of. It's just like, it's like I've been in a coma, and I've been sedated for 20 years. All of a sudden I woke up and it's a completely different society. No, this happened like over a few weeks. So what else is there to talk about? Well, there is the whole thing about the military, and they have been very vague about that. Nothing very specific has been brought up about it, except for like they wanna do certain types of, like, for example, today it's the police's the police responsibility to safeguard certain government buildings, for example. They are talking about letting some military personnel do that so that the police can get more into the field and work with active crimes. So stuff like that, stuff like security, maybe that sometimes police is associated with or falls under their jurisdiction. But they have been very unspecific about how to use the military. This seems to be a rather a controversial thing also, bringing the military into this. But to me, this is like, I mean, I think back to when I got banned from Twitch. I wasn't even close to being this forthcoming about the problem with immigration and the way that they are the way that he's clear over and over again talking about how this is a problem with immigration, and he's talking about deportation, he's talking about how it's a problem with people not learning Swedish, with a parallel society where you have parts of Sweden that doesn't even function as if it's Sweden. And this was very, very controversial to say, trust me, I know. I have been shunned for this. I have paid an enormous price for saying this a couple of years too early. And, well, this speech and a few other things that has happened over the last couple of weeks, some events and of course some of the reactions to these events, it yeah, it allows me to kind of end this video with this. I told you so. Thank you for watching.